Every day, I share another story from Hollywood's golden age, the moments, the people, and the truths that shaped an unforgettable era. If you'd like to keep these memories alive with me, please consider subscribing. It costs nothing, but it means a great deal. Thank you for being here. Now, let's begin. For years, George Clooney seemed untouchable. He had everything: fame, charm, purpose, and eventually, the woman who made him believe forever was real. The cameras captured the smiles, the elegance, the effortless confidence. But behind those glossy photographs, something heavier was quietly forming. The jokes didn't land the same. The charm showed cracks. Only those closest to him noticed the shift. When the truth finally came out, it wasn't dramatic or glamorous. It was raw, and it was painful. The leap from Hollywood's eternal bachelor to devoted husband came with a cost no one saw coming. For decades, Clooney wore that bachelor label like armor. After his short and painful marriage to actress Talia Balsam in the early 1990s, he swore he was done. He joked about it in interviews, calling himself not very good at marriage, brushing it off like a punchline. While friends settled down, George stayed busy. Movie sets, global causes, long nights that filled the silence. On the surface, he looked free, fulfilled, untouchable. But behind closed doors, there was a quiet loneliness fame couldn't reach, the kind money never fixes. Then, in the summer of 2013, everything changed, not on a red carpet, but quietly at his Lake Como villa. A mutual friend introduced someone new into his world, someone completely outside Hollywood. Amal Alamuddin, sharp, fearless, a human rights lawyer educated at Oxford and NYU. She wasn't impressed by fame, she didn't chase attention, and she didn't bend for the spotlight. When she stepped into his home, George later admitted something shifted instantly. By April of 2014, George Clooney was on one knee in his kitchen, nervous, unsteady, waiting for Amal to open a drawer where he'd hidden the ring. She almost missed it. The moment stretched on with awkward laughter, long pauses, and finally his nervous attempt to break the tension. "I'm 52 years old, and my knee's gonna give out soon." That did it. By September, Amal said yes. Venice became the stage for their wedding. Friends, flashing cameras, and a world watching what felt like a real-life fairy tale. And almost overnight, Clooney changed. The late nights faded, priorities shifted. When twins Ella and Alexander arrived in 2017, he called it the greatest moment of his life. They built something that looked unshakable, a home in Provence, the Clooney Foundation for Justice, power and intellect wrapped in quiet elegance. Amal took on cases at the United Nations and the International Criminal Court. George focused on films with meaning. Together, they looked perfectly aligned, strong, intelligent, purposeful. But pressure doesn't always announce itself loudly. Distance crept in, work demands stacked up, emotional strain grew quietly, unnoticed by the cameras. By 2025, they had been married over a decade, a miracle by Hollywood standards. To the public, nothing seemed wrong. They still smiled, still held hands, still showed up polished and united. But behind the scenes, their lives were pulling apart. Amal accepted a major teaching role at the University of Oxford. George prepared for his long-awaited Broadway debut in Good Night and Good Luck. For the first time in years, they weren't just emotionally distant, they were living on different continents. Sources close to the couple told Radar Online this wasn't just missed flights or packed calendars, this was deeper, a quiet trial separation, even if neither of them wanted to say it out loud. Amal remained in England with the children, immersed in her academic world. George stayed in New York City, pulling long rehearsal nights, then returning alone to his apartment after curtain call. Sometimes the night ended with a drink in his hand, a life he once swore he had left behind. Distance didn't make things easier. "It hasn't been easy being this far apart," one insider admitted. Another source put it more bluntly. They weren't fighting, they were drifting, slowly, quietly fading. Clooney himself once said he and Amal never argued. In fact, during an interview in April of 2025, he smiled and insisted, "We still haven't found anything to fight about." To the outside world, it sounded like a dream marriage, no tension, no drama. But relationship experts later warned that this kind of calm can hide something far more dangerous: silence. When couples avoid conflict, they often bury hurt, disappointment, and exhaustion. They keep smiling until one day there's simply nothing left to say. Amal's life in Oxford remained full and demanding. Lectures, students, high-level legal work in The Hague filled her days. George admired her deeply, but that admiration came with guilt. He once admitted he never thought he had a chance with her. She was younger, brilliant, already complete on her own. What once felt exciting now felt like distance. George was 64. Amal was 47. Their lives were moving at entirely different speeds. And then came the night that shifted everything. No screaming, no betrayal, just one moment that quietly cracked the image wide open. In June of 2025, George and Amal appeared together at the Tony Awards in New York City. To everyone watching, they looked flawless, elegant, perfectly in sync, glowing beneath the lights.
But as the night went on, the line between celebration and escape began to blur. After years of discipline, George made a choice. He decided to make up for lost time in just one night. Later, George admitted to Esquire that he ended that night like a high school drunk. The next morning, he felt sick, embarrassed, ashamed. Still, he tried to laugh it off. The public thought it was funny. Amal didn't. Friends speaking to Radar Online said she was furious, not because of one night of drinking, but because of what that night represented. She respected the discipline he had worked so hard to build. One insider explained that hearing him joke about getting deeply drunk reopened an old fear. It reminded her of the man George used to be, the younger actor who treated excess like a punchline and showed up unprepared. That wasn't the man she married. She fell in love with the version of George who had grown past that, the husband, the father, the partner she trusted. When George tried to brush it off, Amal drew a clear line. According to sources, she told him his drinking wasn't something she was willing to ignore. For a man who built his identity on control and discipline, that landed hard. The woman who once called him her anchor forced George to face something terrifying. He was slipping. Friends said the weeks that followed felt heavy, tense, unspoken. The couple retreated to their $8.3 million estate in Provence, surrounded by olive trees, vineyards, and silence. It was supposed to heal them. Instead, the quiet made the distance louder than ever. Amal spent her mornings locked into remote legal work. George wandered the property alone, left with too much time to think. And for the first time in years, nothing felt stable anymore. George paced the gardens, quietly running lines for his Broadway role. Dinner conversations stayed polite, careful, thin. A family friend explained that Amal doesn't see wild behavior as funny or charming. She has 2 young children, a demanding career, and a strict sense of order, one that George doesn't always naturally match. The last thing she wanted was careless behavior disrupting their family life. By March of 2025, rumors spread faster than they could contain them. According to Radar Online, friends close to the couple began whispering the words no one wanted to hear: trial separation. Amal took the twins back to England, settling into her teaching role at Oxford. George stayed behind in New York, chasing a dream decades in the making, his Broadway debut. From the outside, everything still looked fine. George Clooney publicly praised Amal's work. Amal Clooney told colleagues she fully supported his commitment to the stage. But privately, the distance was wearing them down. They tried to stay connected. Daily FaceTime calls, Ella's drawings held up to the camera, Alexander's laughter echoing across time zones, bedtime stories whispered from thousands of miles away. Still, as weeks turned into months, the gap became more than physical. One insider said they were used to short separations, but this was different. This was testing them in ways they never expected. The source added that Amal's Oxford schedule was relentless, teaching law, managing high-level international cases, carrying non-stop responsibility. George's Broadway world was the opposite: long rehearsals, late performances, and the hollow quiet that follows when applause fades. They were living parallel lives. Neither was wrong, but neither could pretend anymore that distance didn't change everything. Both were chasing purpose, and even strong love can stretch thin when pulled between two powerful ambitions. The tabloids showed no mercy. Headlines screamed strain, distance, and whispers of divorce. But what made it all feel real was one thing: they didn't deny it. They stayed silent. And according to friends, that silence spoke louder than any statement ever could. Amal viewed the time apart as necessary, a moment for reflection. George felt it differently. To him, it felt like exile. One confidant revealed he missed the ordinary things: the sound of Amal in the kitchen, the children running through the house. New York wasn't freedom for George, it was loneliness, dressed up as opportunity. And just as speculation reached its peak, everything shifted. In August 2025, Venice International Film Festival audiences watched as George Clooney and Amal Clooney appeared together, arm in arm, smiling as if nothing had ever gone wrong. Cameras flashed, crowds roared, and for a moment, the illusion of perfection returned. Amal looked radiant, George looked calm, perfectly composed. The Clooneys back on top, untouchable again. But behind that smooth surface, the questions didn't fade. Were they performing a role perfected over years, or were they honestly trying to find their way back to each other? As one friend quietly said, they're both brilliant at keeping their private worlds sealed off, because sometimes what looks like peace is really just quiet sadness. Then came Amal's words. In the fall of 2025, Glamour published an interview meant to spotlight her friendship with makeup artist Charlotte Tilbury. But what captured attention were the rare, careful words she shared about her husband. For the first time in months, Amal spoke publicly about George.
"I have a partner in life who is so supportive of what I do," she said. Glancing toward George, who stepped in and out of the room during the interview, she added, "When I became a mom, he was the first to say, 'You've got this speech at the Security Council. I'll take care of the kids. Go do it.'" Those words slowed the rumor mill instantly. For a moment, the whispers softened. Amal sounded grateful, yes, but also tired, like someone remembering better days instead of fully living in them. For George Clooney, hearing her speak was bittersweet. He had always admired Amal's brilliance, her compassion, her fearlessness in the courtroom, yet those very qualities reminded him of what he feared losing, the sense of being her equal behind closed doors. Friends say George confided that the fame and glamour people envied had slowly turned into weight. "I never wanted to be a headline about love," he told one longtime associate. "I just wanted to be a husband." When George finally spoke later that year, there was no statement, no spin. During an interview, when asked directly whether the split rumors were true, he paused for several long seconds before answering. "You know," he said softly, "marriage isn't about staying the same. It's about holding on when everything around you changes and when you change too." He didn't confirm a divorce, but he didn't deny it either. Instead, he spoke about losing connection while still sharing a life. Sometimes, he admitted, you can sit across from the person you love and feel miles away. And when that happens, it isn't anger, it's grief. Friends said that was George's real confession. Not scandal, not betrayal, just the quiet realization that something sacred had worn thin. Time did it, ambition did it, distance finished the job. Slowly, the once untouchable couple became something very human. Two people trying to balance love and identity, devotion and self. And yet, Amal's final words in that Glamour interview offered a soft spark of hope. "I feel incredibly lucky to share every day with him," Amal Clooney said. "Now we're four, and I don't take any of it for granted." No grand ending, no perfect resolution. Maybe that was her way of saying the story wasn't finished, that even a marriage bruised by pressure can still breathe. Honesty has a way of changing things, and what comes after honesty is never simple. By late 2025, George Clooney had learned something few of Hollywood's leading men ever admit out loud. Even the most beautiful stories can crack without noise. What began as one of the industry's most admired marriages slowly became a lesson about distance, about aging, and about the limits of control. To the world, the smiles still looked polished, but to those closest to them, the shift was immediate. There were no more long, playful interviews, no red carpet jokes, only shorter answers and heavier pauses. Friends said the couple agreed to spend more time apart, not out of anger, but acceptance. Amal Clooney remained in England, teaching law at Oxford, raising Ella and Alexander in the calm of the countryside. George stayed mostly in Provence, dividing his time between the vineyard, selective directing work, and the lingering echoes of Broadway. They both loved their children deeply, but as one associate quietly explained, they had come to understand something painful. They could no longer live the same kind of life. She thrives on structure and purpose. He leans towards freedom and memory. Privately, they were wired differently. George admitted he felt haunted by time. At 64, he could no longer charm his way past everything. The mirror reminded him daily, the lines near his eyes, the fatigue after performances, the ache in his knees. Meanwhile, Amal remained focused and radiant, driven by intellect, momentum, and forward motion. "I used to be the one moving too fast," George once joked. "Now she's running ahead, and I'm just trying to keep up." Their home in Provence, once filled with laughter, became a place of reflection. George spent long evenings walking through the olive groves, sometimes with a glass of wine he promised himself would be the last. It wasn't rebellion anymore, it was resignation. He wasn't drinking to celebrate, only to remember when life felt lighter. He often thought back to the night he proposed, how nervous he was, how badly he wanted her to say yes. "I think I just wanted to prove I could be someone's forever," he told a close friend. "But forever is harder than I thought." There were still moments of grace. The twins visited during school holidays, filling the house with laughter. Amal still called, she still cared, even if her voice sounded more formal now. They spoke about the children, her foundation, his work. What they didn't speak about was them. Some believe they're still together quietly, rebuilding far from the noise. Others believe the separation is already permanent, simply waiting for the right moment to be named. Maybe George and Amal's story isn't really about endings. Maybe it's about what love costs when fame, distance, and time all pull at once. If this story stirred something in you, feel free to share your thoughts below. A simple like helps these stories find their way to others, and subscribing keeps the memories alive. See you in the next story.